Not so bad. If you go there once, well, every other weekend, not so bad. If we find more restaurants here, we have more restaurants to go to. I just heard that there's Israeli restaurant opening up somewhere in Reseda in 2 months. So, the Verdi family knows about it. They're trying to help them to open up. So, Bezat Hashem, if something new opens up, maybe we go there. Anyways, but just we're going to learn something, about this week's parasha and about like Baomer. Like Baomer is next Sunday. This week's parasha is called the parasha of Behar Sinai or Parashat Behar. So Behar actually means mountain. Some people call it Har Sinai, Behar Sinai, because the beginning of the parasha starts with the fact that God commanded to Moshe these commandments on Mount Sinai, the 40 days that he was on Mount Sinai. So one of the things that actually is explained, the Gemara discusses the beauty of humility. There's a Gemara in Masechta Sota that it says humility is the greatest thing. Actually, if you want God to dwell within you, one of the great character traits that actually draws God to dwell within a person or a community is a concept of humility. Where did we learn that from? So the first time that we see God revealed himself to Moshe, he revealed himself in a thorn bush, right? Very, very low thorn bush. Now, why did God reveal himself in a thorn bush? Weren't there nicer trees? And if you're going to say Moshe was in the desert, no trees grow. Okay, I don't know. Nothing holds God back from creating a tree in the middle of a desert. Why did he reveal himself in a thorn bush? So one of the explanations that the Gemara gives, because God was showing to Moshe that he's in pain together with the Jews. When you touch a thorn bush, it hurts because he has thorns. So God revealed himself in the thorn bush to tell Moshe, you know what, don't think that I forgot about the Jews. I don't care that they're suffering. I'm suffering with them. But the Gemara brings a second reason, because the thorn bush is very, very low, shows on humility. And why did God reveal himself in the thorn bush? To teach us that God dwells in humble places. That's the way the Gemara explains it. There's actually a verse that it says, Marom v'kadosh, God is very aloof and he's holy, but it says, Eshkon, who does God dwell with? With somebody who's very, very humble. So that's, one of the greatest character traits of humility that actually draws God. We find, guys, the author of Shulchan Aruch, the person that wrote the Code of Jewish Law, his name was Yosef Karo. Rabbi Yosef Karo was the man that wrote the book of Shulchan Aruch. Now, he lived in Turkey in the beginning, then he moved to Israel. There were 3 Yosefs in that generation. One was Yosef Karo, the other was Maharim Lev, Rabbi Yosef ben Lev. So there was the 3rd Yosef too. And they were all big, great people. Now, why did God choose Yosef Karo to write the book of Halacha? So they say amongst the 3, he was the most humble. Usually when you want to write a book, it's okay, the guy's smart. Whoever is smarter writes a better book. But here, Rabbi Yosef Karo was not the smartest of them all. Because he was humble, so God chose him. He actually realized what the truth of the Halacha is, and he was the one that wrote the book. I'm sure the guys that went to Yeshiva for a couple of years, you always know about the famous arguments of Hillel and Shammai. Hillel and Shammai were 2 great rabbis. Shammai was the strict one. Hillel was a very easygoing person. And then they had students that a big yeshiva. The students of Shammai, they were the elites. They were like the smartest and the best. Hillel didn't have the smartest students. Now, whenever you find the argument in the Gemara, who's the halacha like? Like house of Hillel or house of Shammai? The smart guys or not the smart guys? The Torah is the opposite. Not like the smart guys. No. Halacha is like Hillel. So the Gemara asks, why is halacha like Hillel? Hillel was not the smarter person. The smarter person was Shammai. Why is halacha like Hillel? So guys, let's get your attention. So the Gemara says, you know what the difference was? They had many, many arguments. So when Shammai was teaching, they only taught their own opinion. They didn't teach whatever Hillel says. I'll bring you an example. When it comes to Chanukah, for example, right? We light 1 candle the first night, 8 candles the last night. We always add a candle. It's actually a matter of dispute. Shammai says, no, the first night you light 8 because there is 8 days left. The potential is 8 days. So you actually light for the coming days, the potential. So the first night you have 8 days coming, you light 8 candles. Second night you light 7 candles. But Hillel says no. The first night you light 1, the second night you light 2, because you light based on the days that are passing, not the potential days coming. Now, halacha is like Hillel. That's actually what Chanukah means. Chanukah means chet. The chet is 8. The nun is nerot, 8 candles. The vav is v'halacha ke beit Hillel. That's what Chanukah is. So why did they make halacha like Hillel? They were not such smart. They were not as smart as Shammai. So the Gemara says because when Shammai taught, they only taught their own opinion. They said Chanukah, the halacha is you have to light 8 candles the first night. They didn't care to teach what Hillel says. But when Hillel was teaching and his yeshiva, they said there are 2 opinions. And the first mentioned Shammai. Shammai says you light 8 the first night, but we say you light 1. So it says because they were humble enough to say the laws of Shammai, and they actually said Shammai before their own. So because they were humble people, the halacha is like them. So a person actually realizes the truth. We're talking about godly truth. Halacha, if they're humble, not arrogant. So you see the greatness of humility. We also find the Gemara says a lot of terrible things about somebody who's arrogant. For example, the Gemara says, me and God says, me and an arrogant person cannot be in the same place. An arrogant person pushes God away. The Gemara says somebody who's arrogant is like an idol. It's a mitzvah to destroy him. I don't know if you could take it literally. But really, because and why is an arrogant person like an idol? Because you see, arrogance only comes if I think I built myself. I don't believe it. I don't think at least that it's God's gift. Whatever ability I have, smart, money is a gift of God. If I'm arrogant, that means I'm giving the credit to myself. I did it. I'm someone. So if you think you're someone, you're saying you're somebody in addition to God. Idol worship doesn't only mean that you deny God. It means that believe there is a God, but there's also other powers besides God. That's also idol worship. And the proof is when we say Shema Yisrael, what do we say, guys? Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. There's only one God. There's only one power. We don't believe in Trinity. There's no 3 parts. So if somebody is arrogant, he's saying, I know God is there, but I'm also somebody. So arrogance is a very, very bad thing. Why did I say this? So the question that they ask is, there's a Gemara, there's also in Gemara Sota. Why did God choose Mount Sinai to give the 10 commandments upon it? The Gemara says there were 3 mountains at that time. One was Har Tabor, that's Tabor, Tabor, table, whatever is in English. There was another one, Mount Carmel, and these were like tremendously tall mountains. But God didn't give the Torah on these 2 tall mountains. He gave the Torah on Har Sinai. Why? So the Gemara says because Har Sinai is Machich Mikol Turaya. Har Sinai is the lowest of the mountains. It shows on humility, and God says, I'm going to reveal myself on a humble place, the shortest mountain. That's what the Talmud said, right? Anyways, if that's the case, that humility is good, so why didn't God give it in a flat land? Isn't flat land lower than a mountain? Or give it in the valley right here? We're in a valley, huh? It's better than a mountain, right? You have all the mountains in LA, the valley's down. We're in a big valley. It's best place of humility. Why did God choose Har Sinai for that? Should have taken a lower place. So that's what we're going to discuss today. You see, there's certain arrogance is very, very bad. That's very true. But a person also has to know not to feel better than somebody else, but he has to be proud of the values that we have, not to be arrogant, but you have to have actually your values. The difference of humbleness, humility, and lowliness, one is called shiflut in Hebrew, which means lowliness, and then not loneliness, low, L-O-W, and then there's another one which is called humility. A humble person knows exactly what values he has. He knows who he is, he knows his values, he knows that he's a great person, but he just doesn't feel arrogant over somebody else because he knows it's God's gift. If somebody else would have had his opportunity, maybe would have been even better than him. Loneliness is that I feel I'm worse than you. I'm a nothing. If you believe you are nothing, you'll never succeed. You have to know your values in addition to know your things that you're lacking. So a mountain actually shows on a certain amount of pride. For example, if you're proud that you're a Jew, is that arrogance? I don't feel that I'm better than a Goy. I just know the value of Judaism. And we were the first nation that brought God into the world. Moses did it. If you look at all the Nobel Prizes, even though Jews are like 0.02, whatever, not even 1%, not even 0.5%. We have done so much good to the world. Look at our soldiers, right? When they go to kill a terrorist, they only kill the terrorist. They don't go blow up buses like some other idiots do, right? They don't care where they throw their scuds. So there's certain family values, Jews have a lot of it, definitely amongst the religious Jews. Even Jews not religious. I have seen, like sometimes amongst even non-religious, they're so nice that sometimes even nicer than the religious Jews. Not kidding. It's amazing. I have friends that were not religious. They did me favors more than my religious friends. So again, there's certain values that we have, and we have to be proud of it. If I don't know the value, I consider myself like a nothing, then I will never reach my potential. I'll give you a couple examples. Imagine a guy that has a lot of money, right? He has more than what he needs. So again, he will reach his potential if he's going to use his money for something good. Imagine somebody has the art of journalism. I'm not talking about fake journalism of today. I'm saying real journalism, right? So whether he could use, or make articles that actually will revolutionize the world for the good. There was, for example, a journalist that came to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and the Rebbe told him, when the Rebbe speaks in his synagogue, you have a few hundred, a few thousand listening. That's it. When you write an article, the whole world reads it. And he was an Israeli journalist. So he told him, write something that makes Israel proud, makes Israel stronger in the eyes of other people. So he knew that he's a journalist. He knew the value, and the Rebbe told him, hey, use it for something good. If you're somebody very smart, you can help other people. He wants to know, I'm dumb, I don't know anything. So then you won't be able to reach your potential. Don't be arrogant about it. This is exactly the sign of Mount Sinai, that God did not choose the valley. He chose Mount Sinai. He didn't choose a flat land, because he wanted to teach us being humble is very good, but at the same time, we have to be proud of our values. Very, very important to know. I'm proud that I'm a Jew. So not during these, tough times. I go to two colleges, Pierce and Santa Monica College. Thank God I haven't seen these big attacks. I think you said there was a lot of attacks. I didn't hear there was anything in CSUN either, was there? Also, the valley is more of a safe place. What? Okay, thank God. I hope the rest of them won't either. But anyways, I'm there. It's not easy to be proud. It's easy to be proud because nobody attacks you. But not really. The question is not that we have so many bad stuff happening, and anti-Semitism, anti-Jews. Should we hide our Judaism, or should we be very, very proud and show it? Let's take a vote. You're going to show you. That's it. Something that I'm proud of. Why should I hide it? So that's a lesson that from Mount Sinai, guys. That humility is very good. At the same time, you have to be very, very proud of your values that you have, and actually let it go. By the way, what they say about Vegas? Whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. You know what they say about synagogues? Whatever happens in the synagogue does not stay in the synagogue. It goes to the outside world to illuminate them. Seriously. Whatever happens in yeshiva doesn't stay in yeshiva, it goes out of the yeshiva. There's nothing to be embarrassed of. I guess they do bad stuff in Vegas, so it stays there. They're embarrassed to publicize it outside. Is that what it is? Honestly, otherwise it doesn't make sense. Anyway, so that was the one thing that I wanted to learn with you. Bezrat Hashem, the second thing that we're going to learn is about this. Any questions, by the way? There's an amazing God in the world. Who would believe that Mr. Raisi will die today or yesterday? You know Raisi? The president of Iran. Right? That's it. Going on a helicopter out.
It was the same helicopter that flew over the festival, too.
Which festival?
The locals.
That was the same helicopter? You kidding? How do they know?
That's crazy.
Are you 100% sure?
I'll show you once I have it.
Wow. So that shows exactly there is a God in the world, right? They wanted to kill that Jewish kid, you see? He's lame. Or his brains are lame. Yeah. Anyways, guys, let's go to the next one. See what we're going to learn, guys. It's about like Baomer. You see, the 33rd day of the Omer. We're going to discuss it a little bit. Like Baomer, it's a very, very holy day, very happy day. And actually, it's totally opposite of everything else. What happened in like Baomer, there are two reasons why we are happy. Reason number one, I think we discussed it last week, because Rabbi Akiva students, they were like not respecting each other. So a plague happened, starting from Passover, and the last of them died. We're talking about 24,000 students. They got a plague, diphtheria, what do you call it, not being able to read. So they died, and the last ones that died was on the 33rd day of Omer, which is this Sunday. This is on May 26th. So we are happy because the plague stopped. But there's another reason. When Rabbi Akiva's 24,000 students died, he never gave up. Could you imagine you build a yeshiva or a college, 24,000 students, and then everybody dies? And Rabbi Akiva was not a young man. He would just give up, say, forget it, get into depression. He didn't give up. It's amazing. He went to the southern part of Israel, and he found only 5 students. And the entire oral Torah that we have, it's really from the students of Rabbi Akiva. These 5 students. One of them is Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. And he died on the 33rd day of Omer, years later, not together with the original 24,000 students. He joined Rabbi Akiva later on, and he died years later. So why are we so happy in that day that somebody died? Usually we fast, we are sad when somebody dies. So Rav Shimon Bar Yochai said, I feel on the day of my passing, when he was dying, he called all his students. By the way, this is in the Zohar. He says, I feel that I'm going to be united with God. It's my happiest day. He wasn't scared of death. Some people, most of us are not ready to go meet God. So we should have 120 years of life, and we should be ready to meet God. And hopefully we won't meet God over there because Mashiach will come, so we stay here. That's it. See, I'm not ready to go up there. What do you mean? No. Please, God, keep us here. But to do good things, not bad stuff. At any rate, he wasn't afraid of death. So he said that because I'm going to get connected to God, please celebrate my unity with God. That's what Hashem Bar Yochai is different. On that day, we all do happiness, give listen to music. Some people even take haircuts, even though when you're mourning, you don't take haircuts. There's a wedding actually this Sunday night, like Baomer. What?
Why do people say sometimes for Shabbat, let's say Yom Shishi, you do a haircut, before Shabbat, you're allowed to, no?
Not for hair. They only do it for beard because it bothers the person.
See, I hear difference.
Rabbi Ovadia Yosef said, because hair doesn't really bother you that much. But the beard, because people are not used to it, as long as they don't use a razor. He says every Friday afternoon you could shave during these days of the Omer. I just studied it. The hair, he doesn't give permission.
Really?
Because it doesn't disturb you. The beard disturbs, so people that don't have beards, it bothers them. It itches, whatever it is, it look funny. In your generation, boys care about their hair more than girls do. So it's a start to have hair for the boys. Seriously. When I see them, I say, may God bless you to have your hair till you have your last grandchild, till the age of 70. Oh, thank you, Rabbi. Like they love their hair. So I tell them, because I don't have any hair, as you guys see, I grow a beard. So I have at least something. It's something. Not bad. So it becomes equal. So guys tell me, Rabbi, take this hair and plant it in your head. It's the next life, not this life. I'm happy this. I don't have a problem because I'm married, I don't have to attract anybody. So it's okay. I look like everything is jumping from different sides. It's all right. No discipline. It's going different directions. But when I was younger, I was very, very handsome. I had nice beard, exact. At least my wife thought so. I fooled her to get married to me, So anyways, going further. So this, so they made this big party because he knew he was going to get connected to God. And that's why all these things happening. You could actually, whatever, take a haircut, get married. But you see something unique about Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, what I wanted to go through is the concept of unity that he had. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, when he was younger, he lived in Israel. He was in Israel all his life. But they were under the rulership of the Romans. So there were 3 people speaking in the synagogue. One of them was saying great things about the Romans. Look what they did. They built bridges, they built stores, they built, whatever, high-risers. He was, saying very good things about the Romans. Now the rabbi kept quiet, didn't say anything. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai said a lot of bad about the Romans, that they do everything for their own benefits. Somehow this story got outside. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai said bad about the Romans. I guess the Romans were just like Mr. Raisi, not such a good people. Somebody says bad about them, they're going to execute him. So they come to kill Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. He runs away with his son inside a cave. First, he hides himself in the synagogue, but he was really worried. If his wife knows where he is, they're going to torture his wife, just like what's happening now in the Middle East. And then under torture, she has to know where my husband is. So he didn't tell his wife where he's going. He went with his son inside a cave. A miracle happened that they found inside the cave a river, and there was a boxer tree. Boxer tree is a carob tree. So I don't know what miracles happened to them. They were sitting in the cave, and all they ate was drinking water and eating carrots. For 12 years, he was in that cave. So after 12 years, they hear that the Roman emperor is dead, nothing is happening to him, so he comes out. So the Talmud tells us when he came out and he saw people wasting time not studying Torah, he would kill them with his eyes. So God tells him, I'm sorry, it wasn't like for 10 years, I'm sorry. So it says, hey, you came to this world to destroy my people, get back into the cave. So he went to the cave for another year or two. When he came out, he totally changed. He became somebody that actually brought good to the world. So the Talmud says that in his generation, the rainbow was never shown on top of the land of Israel. Now, what's the big deal if there's a rainbow or not? Might sound very funny, very weird, but I'm sure you have studied the book of Noah, right? Parashat Noah. So God says, even if people are sinful, I'm going to make the rainbow as a sign that I won't bring the flood to destroy the whole world. So basically, the rainbow shows that there's supposed to be destruction, but God remembers his covenant. He's not going to destroy the world. So it says at the time that people are very, very righteous, you don't see the rainbow at all. He was one of the generations. He was such a righteous man that the rainbow was not shown. Hashem Baruch Hu said a couple of things. He said that, with my merits, he says, I'm willing to give all my merits to the entire world, that the world should never have any punishments. He would never do that, right? There's a joke that they say, everybody speaks Persian a little bit. If you don't, anyways, when you see these Persian guys, they see a rabbi, they say, Rabbi, your merit should protect us. So we say as a joke, not only that, that's a Persian way. Your merit should protect us. So I tell them, listen, not only that they don't donate anything, but they take your merits away for themselves too. You hear that? May your merits protect us. But putting all the jokes around, Hashem Baruch Hu was the type of a person that he was willing to give his merits to save the world from punishment. That's how great he was. He really believed in unity. That's how great unity is. So one of the lessons that we learn when like Baomer comes, B'ez Hashem, very soon, that is, we're all united, we're all one, and actually we should do things for each other because we're united and help each other, just like Hashem Baruch Hu did. I just wanted to finish up with one story, and that is, sometimes you really can't help somebody else who might think. But there's a very interesting story that it says, even if I don't do anything I can't do anything for another person. If I really feel bad, and at least, we pray or we cry for him, it could help. There was a story with a big tzaddik that there was a man, in his time, I forgot the name of the tzaddik. So the doctor said that he's like he has a type of an illness. But there was no hope for him. So he goes to this righteous guy and he says, please pray for me. So he looks, he tries, he opens up one of the books that he had. He tries to pray and he says, you know what? I'm sorry. I can't help you. I'm looking in the books, all the books that I have, and I can't really help you. I can't pray for you. That's it. There's no hope. So this guy felt so bad that he went out crying. This guy felt bad too, the big tzaddik, and he started crying for him. So then suddenly he felt that the gates of heaven are open and there's actually hope for this person. So he calls him back. And he says, I want to tell you something. In the beginning, I didn't see any hopes in heaven for you. But because when I cried, I felt your pain, that opened up new channels, that now there is hope for you. So the story was told to us to teach us a lesson. There are times that maybe we can't help. But the fact that we pray, we cry for the person, that itself opened up the new gates in heaven. I think maybe that's relevant for today. This story in Iran that was happening. Whatever they said, one kid there was a sentence, a death sentence. The boy's name is Nathaniel. The whole world are sending WhatsApp things, pray for him. But you all got those WhatsApps, pray for him. After one day, what happens? They say they postponed it for 30 days. And then today, I hope they learned the lesson. Mr. Raisi's airplane falls down, or helicopter, I'm sorry. You know what they said? They said a Jew killed him. Helicopter. His name is Eli, last name is Copter. Mr. Helicopter killed him. Yeah. Is there such a guy? No, of course not. His helicopter died. They do anything just to say it's blaming the Jews. But honestly, I don't know if they're going to think about it. They just wanted to kill whatever. I don't know what the story was. Self-defense is not clear. But he's not a guy that went to kill. You know what I'm saying? He either was doing self-defense or whatever happened. They just want to say because he's a Jew, we're going to kill him. People prayed, and it made a difference. 30 days, they pushed it off. I hope they're going to completely change their mind. I hope they will come to the right judgment to let the kid go and have a normal life, God willing. But we see actually the prayers did help. So even when we cannot help physically or whatever it is, we can financially help somebody, we should definitely pray or cry. That brings a great thing for them. That's basically, guys, the another thing that we learned today. Any questions? We'll go to the third one, then we're going to be finished. Any questions? Tonight is a very successful class. Awesome. One time I had a class and I said, guys, I hope next time we're not going to spend a couple hundred. We're going to spend over $1,000. And it happened. We went to Shanghai, then I went broke, you remember? Then everybody donated some money because I went broke. But it was awesome. Over $1,000. Yeah.
Some people were getting cars or something over there.
Which part of King Bob?
Where is it? By the animal thing? Animal shelter?
Salon.
Yes, the animal shelter. Yeah, this side. Yeah.
So this side is not a salon.
So they said,
Where the animals? Where the animal?
Yeah, if you guys park your cars, please move.
Honey. Like in the middle, or what if on the side? But it's like already.
Yeah, we can't, don't do. I mean, on this side, everything is closed this one. To the west. But to the east, I open weird hours. They're very angry. Do you know what car it is?
What is the Oh, they weren't talking about one in specific.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys park, please. No, right there, there's a vet here. There's a vet here. Yeah, please come back.
Robert went to go see Igal Cohen last night.
What's he got for? No.
He's a rabbi in Israel that lives in Beretwa. He's a very big speaker.
He's here?
He was here, yes, last night. Over here in Lemley, back of Lemley. Mexico. He's a basic person. Igal Cohen.
So I have to go use it. Because let me just do one last thing. Let me just finish one more thing and let me have your attention, guys. Let's do one more thing and then we're gonna go have some healthy stuff. We hope at least it's healthy stuff. One of the mitzvot that this parsha talks about is the parsha of the 7th year, Shemitah. Now the way it is in land of Israel, you're allowed to work on the field and plant for 6 years in a row, 6 years straight. On the 7th year, you can't have any planting. You can't plant anything. Now, in times of the Beit HaMikdash, this was a biblical commandment. You had to keep it because the Torah says. Now that a lot of Jews don't live in Israel, and we don't have the Beit HaMikdash, so the rabbi said you should keep it, no planting. In the 7th year, because when Mashiach will come, we don't forget. We call it the sabbatical year or Shemitah. Right? So before actually a big miracle happened because of this. I don't know if you guys remember a few years ago, this was like 3, 4, maybe 5 years ago, I don't know exactly, maybe more. And there was one time when they wanted to make matzah for Passover. So Shmura matzah, the wheat has to be completely dry. So in the north, there was a lot of rain. And the wheat was very wet, they couldn't use it. But then close to Gaza, this is before October 7th, 5, 6 years ago, there was a whole field of wheat that was complete.
In front of my car is going to get full. Just saying. There's somebody like directly in front of my car, like it doesn't make any sense. There, it's not your car's not blocked. Sorry, she said, "Yeah, this doesn't make sense." Like, my car is so the sides are fine. don't park like directly in the middle in front of the gate here.
Everything is safe.
Right? Yes, you need to move your car. They said that they're gonna do it. I don't care, but they said they're gonna do it.
That's the problem. Okay, guys, so let's do it. Okay, so let's do it. Anyways, guys, I have like maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Let me finish this. So what happens is, in the southern part of Israel, there was no rain that year, and there was wheat. So they wanted to get the wheat to make the Passover matzahs. They did it, right before Pesach, and there was a tall wheats, and they cut them all. A few days later, the Hamas guys attacked, because when they took pictures or whatever, they thought they're going to come out right in the field, that tunnels underground, and they thought they're going to come exactly to the place where the wheats are, so they're going to be covered. They had no idea that they cut it for Mitzvah Pesach. So they did cut it, and then when they came out, there was no protection. The Israelis saw them. There were like 6 or 7 of those guys. They shot them to death right away. And I think it was close to the year of the 7th year. I'm not sure. They needed, matzah for that year and for the next year. But anyways, when you do commandments, many times, big miracles happen. Now the question is, why does God say on the 7th year you can't do any planting? What's the reason of that mitzvah? 6 years you work, 7th year you can't plant. But what happens to the fruits that grow? Trees give fruits no matter what. Okay, wheat you can't plant. So you can't even own it. There's a holy fruits, and you have to leave your things open, your gates open, and everybody is allowed to go and take a little bit. It's free for all. Now, what's the reason of this mitzvah? Now, commentators say you can't tell me because you got to make the land rest, so the elements will become stronger, so then you could plant more. Jubilee is the 50th year.
So what are we talking?
Shemitah, the 7th year.
That's right. Yeah.
The sabbatical year. Because, people that actually are into planting, into cultivating the land, let's say 1 year they plant something that takes a lot of elements from the ground. Second year, they do something that doesn't take so much power, energy from the ground. After 1 or 2 years, they make the land rest, but you don't work on the land for 6 years, and then on the 7th year, you rest. Besides that, the Torah says, if you keep my commandments, you're going to ask a question, what are we going to eat? You're not planting on the 7th year. They were all farmers those days. What are we going to eat? So God says, in the 6th year, I'm going to give you enough fruit for 3 years. For the 6th year, for the 7th year, and the first 6 months of the 8th year, till the new crop will grow. So what's the reason of this mitzvah? So you see, one of the things that actually commentators explain, the whole mitzvah of Shemitah is testing the faith of a Jew. That's the mitzvah of Shemitah. Testing our faith. What I'm saying? Do we believe that the land is ours? Actually, it's a blessing that God gave us. If you don't have faith in God, what do you mean? Don't plant on the 7th year? And then when you start planting on the 8th year, for the first 6 months, there's nothing growing. So how could you have fruits? It doesn't make any sense. So God says, you know what? Trust in me. Don't work on the 7th year. You're going to see in the 6th year, it's going to give more than the previous 5 years. And if you have the faith, actually, a lot of blessings will happen. Having faith in God is a very, very important thing. Obviously, you have to have brains too, right? Jews have a lot of brains, but do not let the brain, a little bit, too much intellect, sometimes it distracts us from the pure faith that we're supposed to have. It could be that I said this story once, I'm going to say it one more time, and then we're going to be finished. The story actually is with the Baal Shem Tov. There was one time the Baal Shem Tov was seen by heaven that there is a person that has more faith than him in God. Now, the Baal Shem Tov was shocked. Who could have more faith than him? I mean, Baal Shem Tov was in a level that when he was in trouble, he already felt that he's out of the trouble because he was sure that God is going to save him. Now, who could be someone that has more faith than him? So he prays to God, and he finds out where this guy lives. So one Saturday night, he travels. He goes to a certain place in the house of this guy, the faithful guy, and then what he sees is when he knocks on the door, he had an inn. Those days, Jews used to rent inns. And how did they make money? By selling vodka, food, making the people sleep. These days, we don't rent from anybody. We own land and we give rent. We make others rent from us, right? Half of downtown is owned by Jews. I don't know. I hope so. I don't know if it's true, but I hope so. Right? We don't go make shoes to make money. Now we have land. Right?
We own the diamond district in New York. That's all that matters.
What is it? We own it. Baruch Hashem. Jews are diamonds. That's why it's called jewel. Comes from the word Jew. Jewelry is jewelry. Yeah? They say Jews are very, very few because we're the diamonds of the world, not the dust of the world. At least that's what I said to make myself happy. But it's absolutely true. But anyways, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, so this guy, Baal Shem Tov, goes and finds this guy. So they used to know rent-ins, and how did they pay rent? They paid rent once a year in the olden days. Again, there were a lot of landlords. They made their own rules. There was no democracy. As long as this landlord paid the government, he could make his own rules. How much he wants to rent, how much money he wants. There was no rent control, none of those stuff. Anyway, so Baal Shem Tov goes in there and they make a minyan to pray. In the middle of the prayers, the police comes and bangs on the table 3 times with a stick. That's it. They said this story a long time ago. Anyway, so they don't know what's going on. They finish praying while the guy's making breakfast, So then the police comes and he bangs on the table 1 more time. 3rd time, when they're finished by the end of the meal, the police comes and bangs on the table a 3rd time. So this time Baal Shem Tov says, what's going on? Why is this guy banging on the table with a stick? So it says, today's the day that I have to pay my rent. And when the day of the rent comes, so he sends his police, whatever, his security guard, and he bangs on the table 3 times. After the 3rd time, I have only an hour to go pay my rent. So Baal Shem Tov says, you look so calm. Why don't you go pay him? Why are you waiting to the last minute? So he says, I have nothing to pay him. Because that winter was a very tough winter. People didn't travel that much. So he didn't make too much money. And the money that he made, he had to use it to feed his wife and kids. So Baal Shem Tov asks him, how are you planning to pay? He said, well, God will take care of me. By the way, they say a joke before I finish that. There was one time a guy that was rich, he was a millionaire, and no boy was good enough as a son-in-law to marry his daughter. It's a joke. It's not true. Doctors came, lawyers came, nobody was good enough. Then a boy from yeshiva comes that has nothing, right? Yeshiva boys don't have any money. At least my days we had no money. So he comes, and after he asks him a couple of questions, and he tells his wife, Mazal Tov, this is our new son-in-law. So he says, why? So many doctors, lawyers, you take this guy, yeshiva boy. So he says, I asked him, do you have a job? And he said, no. So I asked him, how are you going to provide? How are you going to take care of, your wife? He says, God will provide. Then I asked him, do you own a house? So he says, I don't have a house. So where are you going to live? God is going to provide. I asked him a few questions. The 3rd question, I don't know what the 3rd question was. And he says he doesn't have that either. So how are you going to provide? God will provide. So it says, this guy called me God 3 times. I tell him to give my daughter to him. He thought he's talking to the father-in-law. God will provide. Not about God himself. So remember that. Yeshiva boys are the best husbands. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. You should marry somebody almost your level, a little bit higher than your level, a little bit lower than your level. But if you're going to have like a secular person marrying a yeshiva boy, it's going to be World War III. Use your brain. Seriously. I'm not kidding. And again, we all tell all the girls, it's not the size of the ring. It's the size of the heart. You tell the boys, it's not the size of the dress. If it's size 024, it's the size of the heart. I'm very serious. That's it. When the heart is beautiful, you only see beauty. You don't see anything else. Honest to God. Isn't it true? And what they teach in Western world, look how beautiful she is, what dress she wears. You think you see those, the boy and the girl standing in Target, smiling. Think that's marriage? That's selling a sweater. The advertising with the sweaters that these 2 guys are wearing. That's not marriage. So don't get fooled with it. It's the size of the heart. Remember that. Anyway, so going back to faith and the yeshiva where God will provide. So this guy Baal Shem Tov tells him, God is going to provide. Let's see what's going to happen. So the man goes, he has 1 hour. He's going and he says, God is going to send me somebody to pay my rent. So he's going, and then Baal Shem Tov sees from far that a carriage passed by. A rich guy gets off, talks to this guy that has to pay rent. He gets back in his carriage and he leaves. Then he goes back to the person and he gives him like some cash. So the Baal Shem Tov went after him and he says, tell me what happened. He says, well, you know what? This guy makes vodka for me every year. He has the best quality vodka. Doesn't pour any water in there. Not like the gas stations that pour water in the gas, right? His is pure alcohol, right? It's very good alcohol. And this time I wanted to order again, and he says, it's ridiculous price. So I'll tell you, why do you make it so expensive? And that was before Biden came. So it was really, now it's not ridiculous, it's normal. But at that time was before Biden, is ridiculous. Why is it too expensive? So he told me because he has to pay rent. And if he doesn't pay the rent, he's going to be thrown in jail. So I can't make you the vodka unless you pay for my rent. So it says in the beginning I refused, but then I said, he's such an honest guy. He always makes me good vodka. I have to have some pity on him. So I gave him the money. So he was able to pay the rent. He's going to make vodka for me. So the Baal Shem Tov said, this is the lesson that I learned. That this man has so much faith. An hour before, he falls in trouble. He has that great faith. Obviously, we're not in that level. I'm not saying we should be like that. You're not like that. Hopefully, we're going to be like that one day. But honestly, faith in God is the greatest tool and the greatest, ammunition that we can have. Actually, Jews have only lived because of their faith in God. You look at history, there was always times that people persecuted us, they hurt us. And the Medrash actually says there are sometimes Jews in a situation of one sheep among 70 wolves. There are 71 nations in the world. So I don't think now is the time like that. Thank God we have some allies, but there were times that nobody lifted a finger to help a Jew. So how does a sheep among 70 wolves live? So the Medrash says because the shepherd, which is God, is so great that he protects the Jewish people. Anyways, guys, so have the faith, keep strong. Don't be afraid to wear your kippas. Don't be afraid to have mezuzah on the doors of your houses. I had people calling me up, can you put the mezuzah inside? Right after October 7th. So I said, listen, you want to put it, you could put it. But again, I'm not doing it, I'm leaving it outside. There's nothing to be afraid of. There was one time one of the campuses, father says, Rabbi, aren't you afraid? They just attacked Jews in Israel. You're standing with the kippah, they're going to kill you. He put fear in my heart, in my heart. But don't be afraid of anything. There's God that protects us. Thank you for listening.